chose this poem as for my speech to present. The Two Roads Not Taken by Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down as far as one I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, just as fair, and having perhaps a better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for the passing there had worn them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubt if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that made all the difference. Brief background about this poem and the author. Robert was born in 1874 in San Francisco, California. Had an early inconsistent career, being a successful poet due to his works being overlooked for success, and his struggles with him losing two children at an early childhood. He made this poem as a joke due to his colleague, who he constantly took walks with, not having the ability to decide which path to take every time they took a walk. His name was Edwards Thomas. He presented this poem to a group of college people, later gathering them and left them in awe, later publishing the work because of their reactions that they gave. The logos in this poem, Robert relates to how decisions are made, shaping who we are, never knowing the outcome of the other. He elaborates further, saying how he tends to desire experiencing both outcomes of a decision, but concludes to one. Within the first stanza, Robert argues that decisions can have individuals feel regret or anxious at moments, not knowing the result of both options. We fantasize living in both decisions to determine an ultimate sufficing choice, but we can only choose one where we must analyze what we think is right for us. The unknown outcome can mold us to a different person at the times, providing a fruitful or learning moment. Pathos in the poem, Robert also delivers tones throughout the poem such as regret, content, and indecisiveness to reach the audience, relating to the emotions when deciding between two options. He uses the lines, "And sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler," emphasizing how he yearns to understand the outcome of both options and the ability to make the right decision for himself. Creating this atmosphere of indecisiveness, he can relate to how people tend to get stuck making a choice. Another example Robert sets a different tone is in the second stanza, depicting the second path and how it was needing where formulating this content tone. With the appearance alone swaying his decision later in the poem, he states that the factor alone made all the difference. This illustrates how people, when making a choice, can be easily influenced over small factors that appeal to leaving them satisfied with the outcome later. Ethos in the poem, the author's name alone provides the audience that this poet is renowned for not only one, but many works on which has won multiple awards. A few of those awards are being the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry, the Public Face of 20th Century American Poetry, and the honor to recite at a presidential inauguration. With affiliation to notable poets such as Edward Thomas, justifies that he has polished his thinking and creation to construct quality poems. The Road Not Taken, a prime example of how people around the world were in awe of messages encrypted, leaving his work to this day still moving others. With a high social status in American poetry, this aids the audience to be influenced by the works of Robert. Carey wrote in the poem, the purpose of this poem was initially written as a joke, but as Robert presented it to a college, their reactions convinced him to publish it. With the poem having published in 1916 during the events of World War II, it gained much more popularity, especially with soldiers stuck in decision-making. With the event occurring around the world, people had difficult decisions to continue efforts in providing peace for the world, such as women in the United States working in bomb factories while taking care of their offspring. having strong message to others in that time, having a strong message to others in that time of not knowing what choice will provide the best outcome captured the audience with ease. What we can learn from this analysis of the structure is the poem Robert writes using inconsistent tones, illustrating truly the same emotions as individual endures when playing a decision. For example, "And sorry, I cannot travel both and be one traveler" is initially a tone of regret, but changes to realization after analyzing both paths. The passing there had warned them the same. He continues again in this third stanza with the tone of the conclusion to doubtful. He continues again with the third stanza of the tone of the conclusion to doubtful for the choice that he will eventually make. "Oh, I kept the first for the day, for another day. I doubted if I should ever come back." He changes it to "I doubted I should never come back." With the structure of this poem, he gives life to each stanza relating to a life choice that occurs, small or big. Example of we can use this structure in everyday writing is we can use tones. For this as an example, every day thousands of plastic float into the ocean, poisoning and killing many organisms in the ocean. The creation of plastic has only brought small solution to our everyday storage, resulting in a large problem towards our environment. With a dwindling ecosystem that contributes to a major source of food in many countries, the urgency to control our actions has not been as critical enough of a looming disaster that is near. So in using different tones, such as the one that I just stated as an example, create that tone of doom reaches to the audience that this is an urgent problem that needs to be taken care of, and delivers the audience with disappointment and take action to remove the plastic and think about our actions that we've been doing that ultimately affect our environment. So that was my